to order. We thank everyone for being here. If you would, please stand with me as we have a word of prayer followed by our pledge. Let us pray. Father, we thank you for this beautiful day you've given us. And Father, we thank you for our beautiful city. We thank you for Natchez. We thank you for the opportunity we have to work on behalf of such a great city. And Father, we thank you for every person here, every member of this board, and every official of this city who has dedicated themselves. We all have dedicated ourselves to doing the work of the people. We ask that you would be with us. Let everything that we do and say be pleasing to you this day and in the days to come. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Let us repeat together our pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. We'll ask the clerk to administer the roll call.
Alderwoman Hall.
Here.
Alderman Frazier.
Here.
Alderwoman Smith. Alderwoman Smith. Here. Here. Thank you. Alderwoman Irving.
Here.
Alderman Davis.
Here.
Alderman Dillard.
Here.
Mr. Mayor, Alderman President of the County.
Thank you. Thank you. We are going to have an unusual meeting today. I want to just tell you up front, I have to be on the road at 12 o'clock. We have a long-standing friendship, as you know, in partnership with Alcorn State University. And I have been called to a meeting in Jackson with President Felicia Nave this afternoon. And I have to be there to show support for some exciting things that are in the works for Alcorn. So at noon, I will be handing the gavel over to the Mayor Pro Tem, Alderman Dan Dillard. Our goal is to get as many of the big ticket items done between now and noon as we can, because we do have a number of items on the agenda. The very first thing, however, that we're going to do is we're going to make a presentation on behalf of the city to the Historic Natchez Foundation in honor of Ron Miller. And so, Mr. Burns, we're so glad you're here, and I'm going to come out, and we're just going to take care of something that has been heavy on our hearts. We, as everyone knows, we suffered quite a loss just recently in the unexpected passing of a great friend of Natchez, a great friend to me, and a great leader in our city, Mr. Ron Miller. Mr. Miller served Natchez in so many ways. There were so many things he did, things that were unspoken, unseen, but yet we knew that his kindness, his heart for people, his compassion, his love were evident in all of those instances. But what we did see in a very public way was his strong leadership as the first executive director at the Historic Natchez Foundation. In fact, Mr. Miller set out on a job when there was hardly even a budget. As a young man with a family, he made quite a step because it wasn't sure that they would sustain his salary for very long. But his passion for Natchez was first and foremost. It could be said and has been said, in fact, I said it in an article this weekend, that Ron Miller saved Natchez. When we look around and we see the beautiful historic buildings, it's hard to imagine what they may look like, or in fact, many of them may not even be there at all, had it not been for the vision of Ron Miller. Together, Ron and Mimi, who succeeded him as the director, executive director of the Historic Natchez Foundation, together, they did so much to make Natchez a better place. Natchez is in the league with other historic cities like New Orleans and Savannah and Charleston, all because of the vision that Ron and Mimi Miller have had for our community. And so we do have a proclamation. This proclamation summarizes in great detail the life of Ron Miller. And I'm only going to read just the closing words. Never has a man so loved the place. In the last years of his life, Ron reminded Mimi almost daily, sometimes 10 times a day, how lucky they were to live in such a wonderful town with such wonderful people. People who helped watch over him as his memory declined. Ron single-handedly brought about a new appreciation for historic preservation in Natchez that had never truly existed before. He charted a course that we all now follow. Natchez would not be the Natchez we know and love were it not for his vision and leadership. Therefore, let it be resolved by the Mayor of Natchez and the City of Natchez Board of Aldermen that we remember Ronald Webster Miller and extend our heartfelt condolences to his family. And so we now have someone who was mentored by Ron, who now happens to be the third executive director of the Historic Natchez Foundation to receive this on behalf of Mimi and the family of Ron Miller. And Carter, we appreciate you so much. Thank you. And Carter, if you'd like to say a few words.
Well, Historic Natchez Foundation says thank you for this this resolution in honor of Ron, and Mimi wanted all of y'all to know that she thanked you as well and really appreciates it and said it was very special to her. So we just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you. God bless you. We also want to ask at this time if you would join with us in a moment of silence for a young man who lost his life on the occasion. Actually, Sunday was the 35th birthday for Jeremy Williams. Jeremy being the nephew of our fire chief, Robert Arrington. He was unfortunately killed in a tragic vehicle accident on Sunday. And our thoughts and prayers are with his family, his two young boys, and with Chief Arrington, who, instead of really being an uncle, was more like a brother to Jeremy. And we want to lift up the Arrington family in our prayers today. So if you would, please bow for a moment of silence. Amen. Amen. Thank you. We will now move along. We're going to move around a little bit to get a lot done between now and 12. And so we're going to ask Peyton Prosper with Watkins and Eager Law Firm to come forth with presentations regarding our bonds.
Thank you, Mayor. At this time, I'd like to ask Jamie Holloway to come forward. We have received some, final numbers on the Convention Center bonds, Series A and the Series B, and I would like Jamie to tell you. And then we have Lindsay Ray with Raymond James, who's the placement agent on these bonds, who's worked very hard to bring this deal together. So, and then I would come forward with the resolution, Mayor.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We finally got some good news and some numbers in the last week or so. One of them being we got a 4.09% rate for the taxable issue and a 4.15% rate for the new money issue. So we're finally getting everything coming together, and it achieves our goals. One, it gives us new money to provide the renovations for the convention center, the community center, and the auditorium. And it's also going to increase the cash flow to the city by approximately $380,000 on average annually. So mission accomplished on that. it will be my recommendation to the board and to the mayor to accept the term sheets that are going to be presented. And we'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have. Otherwise, I'm going to turn it over to Lindsay. She wants to say a few things about the one pager she put out. And we also want to thank her for her hard work and due diligence. She's been fantastic to work with, has been a real advocate for the city. So any questions from y'all? All right. Lindsay?
Thank you. Hi.
Hi,
Good
good
morning. I'm Lindsay Ray with Raymond James. Thank you all for having us here today. I also want to just say thank you for the opportunity to work on behalf of the City of Natchez. It's been fun and a pleasure to get to tell the story of the city to financial institutions, both nearby and across the country. And we did ultimately land on the lowest and best interest cost for the city here that Jamie just went over. It's also summarized here in this one pager for you. The term sheets are in your packet, and they're very straightforward. We've been through them and vetted them, and they're just what we would expect. And we feel really great about the outcome here. Again, with the combined interest rate of the 4.15, and happy to answer any questions that the group might have or go over any more details.
I want to say this, Lindsay, you've done a great job. And to get these rates during this economy, and one reason we've been moving so quickly is to beat the rate hikes that we know are coming. But in accomplishing all of this, you've managed to bring our debt service under budget significantly. Could you talk about that a little bit? I know we had budgeted right around $800,000 for the debt service. We're coming in.
Yes, sir, that's correct. So we were expecting closer to 800,000, and we're going to land at an average below 700,000. So we're about 695,000, which you can see on this one pager here, which is phenomenal. And that, again, is a result of the great story to tell with the City of Natchez, and also kind of beating these higher rates that are coming. We were able to lock before some of the hikes that we're seeing and get ahead of the Fed movement next week. So I think the timing on the part of the city and you all moving quickly has been tremendous.
And so basically that frees up a little over 100,000 going forward per year.
Yes, sir.
That's the way you want to be. That's a great position to be in, isn't it? And so not only are we well below now what we had been spending to service this debt, we are now even better off. We have freed up, as Mr. Prosper said, we have freed up over $300,000 a year in city revenue, and yet we're still able to do all these projects. That's great.
And Jamie's been tremendous to work with in terms of just his structuring the bond issue and with Megan's help and that of the city. So it's been a team effort. Thank you.
Thank
I have a
you.
question.
Alderman Frazier?
Are these bonds fixed rate?
Yes, sir. That's a great question. The interest rate is fixed for the life of the bonds.
So at the end of this bond period, we don't have any other catches or anything.
That's correct. It's just like picture your mortgage payment. The rate is fixed and you will make these payments. They're semi-annual payments twice a year. And at the end of the term, the taxable bonds are only 5 years. So they will be paid off in 2027. And the new money bond issue goes through 2037. And the payments are fixed for the life.
Let me ask you a question. This might sound kind of far-fetched and stupid, but they have I would say a date, say like your payment is due on the 15 on the bond rate of the month. Do they have like a late clause in there if the city is not able to pay these bonds on time or what?
Good question.
That's a good question. Typically, and Peyton, I don't know if you want to jump in there. Typically, we try to make payments on time, and if not, usually the banks will work with you to make sure they get payment as timely as possible.
You know, the reason why I ask you that, because, you know, people do have different payment rates. And then I know that sometimes if you're late on your payment of or what you have a little interest rate that you had to tack on or whatever.
Sure.
I can speak to that. These bonds that were intentionally done to where our payments are due in September and March. So that means all y'all's money will be in-house. So the short answer is make the payment.
Exactly. That's
But
why I
yes.
asked you the question. That's like I
But
said, it
yes,
might sound-
the coffers will be full. That was done intentionally to make sure all the sales tax revenue, everything was in place. Everything's good to go. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Other discussion? We need a motion, actually, to continue with this discussion. Could you frame the motion that we need to make, Mr. Prosperi?
I can, Mayor, and thank you. That motion would be to approve the resolution of the mayor and board of aldermen that itself approves the two term sheets that you have before you. One term sheet pertains to the 2.135 Series 2022A taxable refunding bonds. The other term sheet refers to the $5.58 million Series 2022B bonds. And the resolution before you does that.
All right. Do I have that motion? Motion made by
Second.
Alderwoman Hall, seconded by Alderman. I got it from Alderman Davis. Alderwoman, I will recognize you on the next one. I know there's a delay. I'm sorry about that. Now, discussion.
No worries.
Discussion on the motion. We'll call for the question.
Second.
We'll proceed to a vote. Alderwoman Hall.
Aye.
Alderman Frazier. Alderwoman Smith.
Aye.
Alderwoman Irving.
Aye.
Alderman Davis.
Aye.
Alderman Dillard.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Motion carries.
Mayor, this completes the packet for consideration and approval tomorrow by the Mississippi Development Bank. They will take action tomorrow at 11 a.m. The city will be represented by the city clerk. And with approval tomorrow, we will proceed to have this blessed by the state bond attorney. We'll go into the validation proceeding, which is a 16-day process. And we have set a closing date for October 12, a Wednesday, which funds will flow under this transaction.
All right, that's excellent. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Mr. Prosperi, is there any other business that you need to bring before us today?
I would like to speak briefly to the capital improvements bonds and the road and bridge, 6 million road and bridge bonds. You'll recall we authorized the publication of a notice of sale for each of those two bond issues at the meeting on August 23. There is a statutory requirement that the notice of bond sale for each of these be published twice, and that would be in the Natchez Democrat. Frankly, Mayor, there were issues with the publication in the Natchez Democrat, which required us to go back out and republish. Bids will be received on each of those two at your meeting on September 27 at 6 p.m. And we will still be able to adhere to the closing dates, the projected closing dates on those bonds. So the money will be here in late October and then the first week of November, as we had indicated.
All right. All right. We're right on track. Thank you. Thanks so much. At this time, we're going to now take care of our unfinished business, discussion and consideration of joint order by the City of Natchez and Adams County to improve and repair Morgantown Road. The chair will recognize Alderman Davis, who made the motion last meeting to postpone action on this item. At this time, Alderman Davis, I would like to entertain a motion from you to approve the joint order.
I want to make a motion to approve the joint order by the City of Natchez and Aldermen counties to improve and repair Morgantown Road.
Second.
Motion has been made by Alderman Davis and seconded by Alderwoman Hall. Discussion on the motion.
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Alderman
Has the
Frazier.
county already took action on this? They had their approval or what?
Yes, they have. The county has already approved this. Okay.
What was that in, Ms. Mayor, was that in yesterday's meeting? They approved it or?
I'll ask Mr. Callaway, who's been in
Okay.
communication with Mr. Slover. I believe it was in their meeting last week.
Yeah, I believe it was. And yesterday they announced again that they're waiting on us.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Let me ask you this question. They're waiting on us
For the approval of this joint.
before they do the approval.
No, the holdup on moving forward with the project and is both of us have to approve this joint order before we move forward, Mr. Alderman. This is the city and the county working together on the Morgantown Road project to hit some economies of scale together that we couldn't hit separately.
Okay, it sound kind of far-fetched that we had, I mean, I understand about it's a joint project, but for over the last 20 years or so, it's been a county project, but if they were waiting on us, I'm not finna hold progress up. Okay, I just think they should have voted first. We can.
Thank
Well-
you, Alderman Frazier.
You have anything, sir?
Further discussion?
Well, I was just going to say,
Alderwoman
I just want to remind Alderman Frazier, remember they couldn't apply for the grant. So we actually are applying for the grant. So if this grant is not approved, then
Are we gonna be stuck?
no, we're not. Alderman Davis, will you speak today, please?
If the grant's not approved, we won't be able to do the project.
But we're hoping that it does get approved.
I will say, though, that phase one funding is in place, the 2.4 million special earmark that was appropriated by the U.S. Congress, and that money is already available for phase one. And we feel very confident that the grant will be, that we will be successful in getting that grant. I'll call for the
One more
question.
quick-
Yes, sir, Alderman
I
Frazier.
just want to make a comment.
Yes, sir.
I'm just hoping that everything can go through because, like I say, I don't want us to be the one be held accountable for this. And like I said, the county project, and this is badly needed. This is one, to me, I don't know about anybody, this is one of the worst roads in the city and county. So I think we are gonna move forward and it shouldn't be any more holdups.
Thank you, Alderman Frazier. We'll call for the question. Second.
Second?
We'll now move to a vote. Alderwoman Hall.
Aye.
Alderman Frazier. Alderwoman Smith.
Aye.
Alderwoman Irving.
Aye.
Alderman Davis.
Aye.
Alderman Dillard.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you. Excited to be moving forward, working together with the county. We will now go to the item under the city clerk's report, request for approval of the fiscal year 2023 budget and fiscal year 2022 amended budget. We have good news. We do have to amend the current budget because we're doing better than anticipated on some collections. So we have several things to do in order. First of all, I would like to go ahead and get this out of the way. We have determined that the millage rate that has been in place since 2016 remains unchanged, but we do want to have a motion to that effect stating and in a resolution form that our millage is 46.732. I'll look to Alderman Dillard for that motion.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that this board approve the resolution by the mayor and the board of aldermen of the city of Natchez and Adams County fixing the municipal ad valorem tax levy for the year beginning October the 1st, 2022 and ending September 30th, 2023. And that millage rate is 46.732 and is unchanged from the previous year.
Second?
Thank you. Thank you. Motion made by Alderman Dillard and seconded by Alderwoman Smith. We'll acknowledge her on that one. Discussion on that motion. This is only with regard to the setting of the millage. Any discussion? We'll call for the question.
Call.
We'll
Second.
proceed to a vote. Alderwoman Hall,
Aye.
Alderman Frazier, Alderwoman Smith,
Aye.
Alderwoman Irving,
Aye.
Alderman Davis.
Aye.
Alderman Dillard.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Motion carries. The next item will be the fiscal year 2022 amended budget. I think we'll take this in order. It's important that we amend that, the budget that is about to conclude at the end of this month. Let's go ahead and have that amendment first. I will recognize the clerk for a few comments and to help guide us in the motion that needs to be made. Madam Clerk, you're recognized.
Yes, so I went through and put together the proposed amended numbers that were sent out to you all. Excuse me. Because we did have some increased revenues that, I wanted to point out, like the mayor mentioned, ad valorem. What we have collected already has exceeded the budgeted amount. We still have August and September collections that will be posted. So those calculations and estimations have been included. If you look on page 8 towards the bottom, you'll see that the anticipated outcome for the end of this month would be a $780,000 surplus within the general fund, and that comes from the increased revenues as well as a significant decrease in the anticipated expenditures. So again, I know I've said this, but thank our department heads for being very diligent and working with their budgets and being mindful of inflation and just being careful to make sure that we got through this year in such good shape. But went down through each of the funds, kind of did the same thing just to make this as actual, close to actual as we can get it at this time.
All right. So what is the motion then that you are looking for in amending the 22 budget?
Just the request for approval of the proposed amended fiscal year 22 budget.
All right. Motion made by Alderwoman Hall,
Second.
second by Alderman Dillard. Discussion?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Alderman Dillard.
Madam Clerk, let me make sure I've got the right page. Now, I'm looking at a budget that was delivered on 9/12. You said, and it may be just all the digits, 782,081. Is that the correct number that I'm looking at on page 8? Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you. I just want to reiterate, at a time when people were so worried about the economy, and we thought last year was a historic year in terms of sales tax collection, we now see that we're surpassing last year. This year will now go down as an even better year. I'm just very grateful for that, and also grateful for the good numbers that we're seeing in ad valorem tax collection. We will knock on wood, but it looks like we are headed toward another surplus, another good surplus year for the taxpayers.
Second.
So the question has been called. We'll move to a vote. Alderwoman Hall,
Aye.
Alderman Frazier,
Aye.
Alderwoman Smith,
Aye.
Alderwoman Irving,
Aye.
Alderman Davis,
Aye.
Alderman Dillard.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Motion carries. The next item is the approval of our fiscal year 2023 budget. We have had our public hearing. We have had our workshop. We've had a lot of discussion, a lot of meetings. Madam Clerk, you have put in a lot of work. I want to say this budget does include some very significant items. It does include salary increases for our police officers and some others. However, I want it understood that in adopting the budget today, It does not mean that those increases automatically go into effect until the board has had a chance to specifically discuss those. And some discussions pertaining to salary increases on behalf of employees will have to take place during an executive session. So while we approve the budget today, understand, and we want the clerk to understand that these are budgeted, but they have not been granted until this board actually takes action on that as a specific item at a future meeting. Is that clear? Also, we have budgeted for some significant purchases of much needed equipment. We also, as you know, are taking care of so much in the area of deferred maintenance, renovation of buildings. We're excited about all of that. One thing, though, that I want to go ahead and address publicly, we have put a lot of study into the proposal that has been provided to us by the NAACP, and in particular, Ms. Arsenault. We really appreciate all of the input, and we're very grateful that the issue has been raised regarding what we can do to serve in an even better way those who are in need in our community. First, we have done a thorough examination of the city's SNAP program. The SNAP program, as it turns out, since the year 2013, has successfully awarded grants provided by banks, not city funds, not taxpayer funds, but provided by banks in excess of $1 million, and has served the needs of 188 needy individuals in our community. Now, if you do that math, however, obviously on a per grant basis, those are not large grants, but they definitely have helped to serve a need in the city of Natchez. Now, the proposal that Ms. Arsenault has brought to us and on behalf of the NAACP is that the city would dedicate $50,000 in taxpayer funds for a program called Alice, and that would assist individuals in the community who make more than the minimum income requirements, or I should say maximum income requirements of our SNAP program. We believe, and it's a philosophical feeling that I have and belief that I have, is that we have to make sure that we are serving the neediest of our people. And we know that we have individuals already wanting assistance in our SNAP program, and to step over them to serve someone who is at a higher income level, in our opinion, would not be a fair way to go about it. I do believe that we need to serve the neediest of our individuals. In addition to that, $50,000 taxpayer money doesn't go very far. We've been looking to see what we can find, and we have found it. The Mississippi Home Corporation in November will open an application process for $3 million to be distributed in grants statewide to municipalities. The maximum grant amount per municipality is $600,000. We have already met, and we want to thank Sue Stedman from Natchez, who is a member of the board of directors for the Mississippi Home Corporation, who has helped bring this information to us. We now are working with Southwest Mississippi Planning and Development District, and in our next board meeting, we will bring a resolution. Mr. Johnston is working with Mr. Alan Laird. And thank you. And what they are working on is a resolution that will come to this board at our next meeting, allowing us to apply for $600,000. Now that's the maximum, but $600,000 in funds through the Mississippi Home Corporation. If we were to get half of that, 300,000, that's still 6 times more than the 50,000 being proposed through the Alice project. And rather than being taxpayer funds, these are actually federal funds. They actually will follow a very closely monitored federal program, ensuring that the city is not skirting any legalities with regards to putting taxpayer funds to projects for private homeowners. We're excited about this. We're hopeful that we will get awarded this grant. It has been many years since the city has been able to obtain anything of this size. And in fact, understanding that we have been able to invest over $1 million since 2013, the idea that we could now invest another 300 to 600,000 in 1 year is truly remarkable. And I do want to say this, the federal standards for the home program, this is what they call it under the Mississippi Home Bank. The federal standards are identical to the standards of the SNAP program. And these projects will be meant for the neediest of our individuals. I will say it again, I have a philosophical difference with the notion that we would step over someone in need to serve someone who is less in need. And so our goal will be to serve as many of our neediest citizens in the best way possible. So for that reason, we are not suggesting an appropriation to the Alice project of 50,000 because we think the application to the Mississippi Home Corporation, the home program, to be a better and more practical alternative.
Mr. Mayor.
I'm going to say one more thing and then I'm going to entertain a motion. We can't discuss anymore without a motion. We're in good position financially. And we have actually, and I want to thank you, Madam Clerk, we have actually, with the help of professionals, aldermen, including our consultant, Wallace Collins, we have, I think, put together a very realistic budget that also is a conservative budget. We are not overstating our ad valorem revenue. We actually have lowered our anticipated ad valorem revenue collection. We also are keeping within reasonable amounts all the way through. And I believe this is going to be a good budget for the city of Natchez. At this time, I will entertain a motion to approve the fiscal year 2023 budget for the city.
So moved.
Alderwoman Hall has made the motion.
Second.
Alderman Davis has seconded. We'll now entertain discussion.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Alderwoman Irving.
I want to entertain a discussion on the Alice project in Mississippi. I want to entertain that motion, but before I do that, I want to read something here. This is an executive order on advancing racial equity and support for underserved communities through the federal government. This is Executive Order 13895. By the authority invested in the President and by the Constitution and laws of the United States of America, it is hereby ordered. Equal opportunity is the bedrock of American democracy, and our diversity is one of our country's greatest strengths. But far too many, the American dream remains out of reach. Entrenched disparities in our laws and public policies and in our public and private institutions have often denied that equal opportunity to individuals and communities. Our country faces converging economic, health, and climate crises that have been exposed and exacerbated inequities. While a historic moment for justice has highlighted the unbearable human cost of systemic racism, our nation deserves an ambitious whole of government equity agenda that matches the scale of the opportunities and challenges that we face. It is therefore the policy of the Biden-Harris administration that the federal government should pursue a comprehensive approach to advancing equity for all, including people of color and others who have historically underserved, marginalized, and adversely affected by persistent poverty and inequality. Affirmatively advancing equity, civil rights, racial justice, and equal opportunity is the responsibility of the whole of our government. Because advancing equity requires a systemic approach to embedding fairness in decision-making processes, executive departments and agencies must recognize and work to redress inequalities in their policies and programs that serve as barriers to equal opportunity. By advancing equity across the federal government, we can create opportunities for the improvement of communities that have been historically underserved, which means everyone. For example, an analysis shows that closing racial gaps in wages, housing credit, lending opportunities, and access to higher education would amount to an additional $5 trillion in gross domestic product in the American economy over the next 5 years. The federal government's goal in advancing equity is to provide everyone with the opportunity to reach their full potential. Consistent with their aims, each agency must assess whether and to what extent its programs and policies perpetuate systemic barriers to opportunities and benefits for people of color and other underserved groups. Such assessments will better equip agencies to develop policies and programs that deliver resources and benefits equitably to all. The purpose for this order, the term equity, means the consistent and systemic, fair, just, and impartial treatment of all individuals, including individuals who belong to underserved communities that have been denied such treatment, such as Blacks, Latino, Indigenous, and Native American persons, Asian Americans, Pacific Islanders, and other persons of color, members of religious minorities, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer LGBTQ plus persons, persons with disabilities, persons who live in rural areas, and persons otherwise adversely affected by persistent poverty or inequality. The term underserved communities refers to the population sharing a particular characteristic, as well as geographic communities that have been systemically denied a full opportunity to participate in aspects of economic, social, and civic life, as exemplified by the list in the preceding definitions of equity. Want to go on here.
Mr. Mayor.
Engagement. Let me just finish. I'm almost
I do
closing.
need to say we've got to remain, the motion
I-
is on our 2023 budget. And while I agree with so much of what you're reading, it's not germane to the
It
budget.
is, Mr. Mayor, if you just
Well,
let me finish here.
if you will.
Okay, engaging with members of underserved communities. When it comes to spending the opera funds, that is taxpayers' past tax dollars, present tax dollars, and future tax dollars. That's what those opera funds are. Engaging with members of underserved communities and carrying out this order, agencies should consult with members of communities that have been historically underrepresented in the federal government and underserved by subjects to discrimination in federal policies and programs. The head of each agency should evaluate opportunities consistent with applicable laws to increase coordination, communication, and engagement with community-based organizations and civil rights organizations. Mr. Mayor, I want to end with this. We have to 2026 to spend this money. And we, as a board, and I've tried to approach this as many ways as I know how, when it comes to the opera funds and how we should have input from the community, nonprofit organizations to come in and ask. And we did have one, and we're making that decision. I heard you, but there's still barriers that are placed there that should be afforded to all citizens. This is an underserved community. When people do not have income, that provides stability with housing, and it serves all
Yeah.
people. It's just not one
Alderwoman,
race.
if it is your desire to make a motion pertinent to the motion at hand, it sounds to me that you would like to persist in an attempt to fund the Alice project.
I would just say,
You are, you as a member of the board can make any motion to amend the motion that is on the table now. If you would like to do so, but we need
and I
to
would
move
like
on
to
with
do
this
so.
discussion.
I would like to do
So
so.
what is your motion?
My motion is that this board makes the appropriations of $50,000, allocate the appropriations of $50,000 to fund Project Alice
Okay.
in Mississippi.
We will entertain that motion. It is a motion to amend the motion that's already before the board. It is seconded by Alderman Frazier. We'll have now discussion on that motion.
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Yes,
Let me,
Alderman Frazier and then Alderwoman Hall.
let me just say this. As you stated earlier, and during your budget speech, about the SNAP program and the housing program, I agree with everyone. It is just a drop in the bucket, and I understand about a drop in the bucket as we're talking about housing and underserved people. But here's my thing with the SNAP program and the housing program. I think that both of these programs, they're here, and we need to fund the housing program. We can go ahead on and get these projects started. Now, the grant that you're referring to, and you real estate lady, I understand about grants, but grants are not guaranteed. And I'm just simply saying we need to go ahead on and get started, because who knows, we might not get those grants. It's just a possibility. We might not. But if we don't get the grant from the federal government, we already have this in place.
Absolutely.
And so that's all I'm just simply saying. We'll have this in place. It's just a request. And like I say, and as you stated, $50,000 is just a drop in the bucket. The SNAP program is just a little drop in the bucket. That's all I'm just simply saying, Mr. Mayor. So I'm not going to hold this up any longer.
Alderwoman Hall.
It was intimated that this grant motion was discriminating against people in this community. When this motion was made for the neediest of those in this community, not one racial, ethnic, nor religious group was identified to serve. This is to serve the neediest, regardless of race, ethnicity, creed, or religion. And that's all I have to say on that motion.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I want to make one other
Alderwoman
comment.
Irving.
I just want to bring this out because we did a housing assessment. It was in 2020 when we got in. And this is an analysis of study areas in Ward 1, 2, and 4, where you have all the blight. And we had we spoke to the blight and how it was not, we did not meet the deadline to qualify for the grant. Okay. So we know that, and that failed us. So I'm talking about the loss that people are. I think when constituents in this community, you look at the loss that we have. I'm speaking to the loss that when we don't help and assist those that are the neediest, okay? Because we're only doing anywhere between $5,000 and $7,000, and it is needed. And so you have a criteria that you have to qualify for. And so it helps absolutely everyone. We did this study, and it's been sitting on the shelf for 2 years, and nothing has come about. And here we had an organization come and bring a proposal, and now we want to kick it down the road. That's what it seems like. We don't want to adhere to it, but we do have a vote on the floor. So
I'm going to ask, is there any further discussion on this motion? I'll call for the question.
Oh.
Second.
Second.
All right, we'll have a motion. We'll have a vote on this motion. This motion is with regards to Project Alice. Alderwoman Hall,
Nay.
Alderman Frazier,
Aye.
Alderwoman Smith,
Nay.
Alderwoman Irving,
Aye.
Alderman Davis,
Nay.
Alderman Dillard.
Nay.
The nays have it. The motion fails. We are now back to the original motion, which is the approval of the fiscal year 2023 budget. Discussion?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Alderman Dillard.
Mr. Mayor, I think that the way that you worded the motion to adopt the budget for the fiscal year 23 is well placed and worded in that it is like all budgets are. Budgets are a plan. It's a roadmap to where we're trying to get. And along that way, there will be things that we didn't anticipate. And we have to do the best that we can to budget for those and plan for those, to plan for what we don't know that could happen. And we have been fortunate in the previous years by considering to defer or to wait for approval of this board when it can fully address and discuss any kind of pay increases or major expenditures. And it served us well in the last couple of years. During this budget season, it gets real intense up here. We get tons of paper and numbers going every which way, and we have to sort all those out. So by giving us some relief, Mr. Mayor, to one, finalize the fiscal year 22 budget and to dig down deeper into the 2023 proposed budget. The clerk and her staff have worked tremendous hours, and my admiration and respect for them and gratitude towards them. Now, I do scrutinize these things, and I do ask the questions that sometimes are hard to answer. But I think that if we go into a prudent mode, when we will know, which is when we start receiving our ad valorem and our tax dollars, we will have the certainty to go forward and be able to approve and expend monies for all of these requests. So that being said, Mr. Mayor, I very much appreciate that you've made that clear to the city clerk that there will be no pay increases enacted until this board has had time to do a deliberative considerations of those. And with that, Mr. Mayor, I thank you for your efforts.
Thank you, Alderman Dillard, and thank you for all that you do to help us. Further discussion? We'll call for the question.
Call.
Second.
All right, the question's been called. We'll proceed to a vote. Alderwoman Hall.
Aye.
Alderman Frazier.
Aye.
Alderwoman Smith.
Aye.
Alderwoman Irving.
Aye.
Alderman Davis.
Aye.
Alderman Dillard.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Motion carries. Wow, we got that done. And thank you. It's a great thing to be on time, getting the work of the city done. We will now, I'm only with you for a few more minutes. Don't all clap now. But the mayor's report, there are a couple other things I do need to update you on. First of all, very good news. The FEMA reimbursement for the cleanup of our 2021 ice storm was received last week. Madam Clerk, I didn't write it down on my sheet. 580.
581,
Yeah.
4 or something.
It was right. It was a little over 580,000. Now we still have some MEMA reimbursement coming, and our contact at MEMA, who's been working with us, Mr. Mike Seiler, has indicated it has been approved, and we will get that amount before the end of the year. And that amount will be in excess of 100,000. And so I'm just very grateful. We got the city cleaned up in February of 2021, and we had no idea we would wait this long to get the reimbursement, but we're getting it.
Question.
Yes, Alderman Fraser.
Is that money going in the general fund or what? Back in the general funds or what?
It did go back into the
Madam Clerk.
general fund since that is where the expense portion was paid.
No.
So
The cleanup money was taken out of the general fund.
yes, it was all paid and the loan was paid out of the
Okay.
general fund. So that's where we put the reimbursement.
Okay.
The next item, thank you, Alderman Fraser. The next item, update on bond project for our streets. This, we are going to ask for a motion today. We had a very good joint meeting with the city Public Works Director and others, and the county Public Works Director and others. And the county is moving forward with a $6 million bond to make repairs to streets and roads. Obviously, the city is doing the same. It is our desire to work jointly with the county in a partnership on this, realizing that we can do more for the taxpayer if we work together. It makes the project larger. It makes the chances better that we will get more bids and lower bids. So we have already distributed lists of streets. We've been asking the aldermen to study that. We're going to give you a deadline by the end of next week. We need to have your comments so that we can finalize a final list at our next board meeting. That is so that we can stay on schedule with the county and moving toward a joint project that will be truly historic for the taxpayers. I don't think ever before have we seen over 12 million in projects taking place. And I say over 12 million because we've just approved the order for Morgantown Road. So really, we're going to be seeing County Morgantown Road anywhere from 14 to 16 million in projects in our city and county.
Mr. Mayor.
So let me ask for this motion first, Alderman Frazier, and then we'll have discussion. And the motion is simply this: to instruct our Public Works Director, Justin Dollar, to work together with Mr. Johnston, our Director of Special Projects, and the individuals within the county on a resolution with our attorney's assistance to present to this board at our next meeting for approval with regard to a joint project for street and road improvements. Do I have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second.
Alderman Dillard has made the motion and Alderwoman Hall has seconded it. Alderman Frazier, I'll recognize you.
Yes, Ms. Mayor, right quick. I can only speak for Ward 2. I need for my constituents, if you want your street paved, call me and let me know which one y'all. I need everybody to call me because I have a lot of streets that need paved, but I need the public input in my ward. Like I said, I can only speak for my ward. So please call me.
Thank you, Alderman. Thank you. Any other discussion? I'm going to reiterate that Alderwoman Smith, were you trying to? Okay.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I just want to, do we need to individually get with the supervisors that have streets inside the city limits to discuss which streets should be done? We certainly want to get the most bang for our buck between both of us. And if they're going to take care of a street that's on our list, we might want to negotiate that. Just make sure that we're doing the best we can for
All
the
right.
constituents inside the city limits.
All right. Thank you, Alderwoman. I would like to though reiterate this to make sure that you have your final list to us by next Friday. That's a week from this Friday, so we can have them in time for the Tuesday presentation at the Tuesday board meeting on the 27th.
I have a question.
Yes, Alderwoman Irving.
Mr. Mayor, we already have a street list, so are we not following the street list for resurfacing and partnering with the county? I mean, are we not following?
We are
it?
following
Because
that
we do have a
list, but obviously it's now been a month ago that we supplied that list to all of you because we would never go forward without your input. And we've given you a month for input, and we're just saying now, next Friday is the deadline. Let us have your input by next Friday.
So we're not gonna have
Week
a
from
meeting,
this
come
Friday.
together and have a meeting as a whole?
We'll do that at our board meeting on the 27th. Yes.
Not even a
We
special,
need your
a
input.
little special call meeting, Mayor?
It is our plan to present your suggestions at that meeting and discuss them. And then if further discussion is warranted, obviously the board can choose to do that. but it's a step along the process. All right. I'll call for the question.
Call.
Thank you. We'll move to a vote. Alderwoman Hall,
Aye.
Alderman Frazier,
Aye.
Alderwoman Smith,
Aye.
Alderwoman Irving,
Aye.
Alderman David,
Aye.
and Alderman Dillard.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you. Just a couple brief updates because I've got to go. But the City County Dispatch, E911, we are expecting to have a meeting very soon. I do want to say this. We're not going to discuss it now. We don't have time. It's not the proper time. We're waiting on the meeting. But I will say this, as we continue to look at our budget, and the budget that we've just approved included are the renovations to our police department to make for a better and more sanitary environment for dispatch. And we are proceeding with that. We don't see where we in our budget that we just adopted can afford the very large cost that is associated with the county's proposal. I did explain that just yesterday to the president of the Board of Supervisors, Wes Middleton, and the vice president of the Board of Supervisors, Warren Gaines. We obviously, all of us are watching our budgets, but I just wanted to give that update. I hope that we can have a resolution to that very soon. Also, improved lighting has been brought recently because of some crime we've experienced, that some of our neighborhoods, many of the neighborhoods, are still dependent on the older technology for street lighting, which can distort the color of a vehicle. And so we have initiated some discussions with a group that has a way of coming in and improving the efficiency of street lights, making them all LED, which creates a brighter situation all through the city in terms of lighting our neighborhoods. We hope that we can have them here soon to make a proposal, presentation to the whole board. But before that takes place, we have asked that they meet with you, Alderman Frazier, since you are chair of the Utilities Committee, and also Alderwoman Smith, who is chair of the Police Committee, because this is both a utility issue and a police issue. And so, Alderman Frazier, you'll probably get a call from the office to set a meeting up sometime within the next couple of weeks.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, before you, I know you got to.
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Mayor.
Alderman Frazier and then Alderwoman Smith.
Before you go, I think before you took office, I thought we had this project that we was gonna go back to Snyder, Snyder doing this program. They did the downtown program, so I'm wondering if we're gonna use Snyder again, or who's coming in?
We'll discuss that,
Okay.
obviously. Thank you, Alderman Frazier. We'll look forward to those meetings with you and Alderwoman Smith. Alderwoman Smith, do you have a comment?
Just a quick request to have Justin Dollar, our public director, at that meeting too as
Okay.
well.
Thank you. Justin Dollar, and also our police chief, because it is a public utilities issue, police issue. That makes sense. Thank you, Alderwoman Smith. Yesterday, we had a meeting with representatives from the county and city on animal control. And I want to share something with you that we are looking into. In our new budget, we have budgeted for another animal control officer because we want to really step up enforcement of our new ordinance pertaining to animal control. However, it's very hard to enforce the ordinance in dealing with what we're dealing with recently. As you know, the City of Natchez supports the Humane Society with a donation of $2,000 per month, a little more than $2,000 per month. However, over the last 3 months, the Humane Society has declined to take a single animal brought to them by animal control from the city. In other words, we know that we have vicious animals on our streets. We know that we have situations where animals are being abused. Animals are tethered when they're not supposed to be tethered. But what are we supposed to do when our Humane Society that we are funding with taxpayer funds is declining to take animals. This is resulting in an unsafe environment in our city. It's resulting in an unsafe environment, not just for people, but for animals. In fact, some of these animals that we know are on the streets have killed cats, have killed other dogs and other pets. And this is a very serious matter. And if we are going to continue supporting with taxpayer dollars this important service to the public, we've got to make sure that it's in a way that also maintains the safety of our city. And so I'm inviting members of the board at the Humane Society to sit down with us and talk about solutions. We may have to increase funding, but we would not increase funding unless we were certain that the result would be more space for more animals so that we can ultimately deliver the animal control that our citizens deserve and need.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Alderwoman Smith.
Yes, I know that we spoke with them when we had some meetings when we changed the ordinance about another place to transport animals out so we would have more room in the shelter. That Madison, Mississippi was going to help us. Did they utilize that? Do you know?
We have utilized some other services. I can actually say a great thank you to the sheriff of Concordia Parish. Sheriff Hedrick has taken some of the animals from us. Our animal control officer actually has 2 at his house right now. And the Webster shelter is definitely still willing to help us. However, it is located over 2 hours away. But one thing that we have found is that there is an overpopulation of animals nationwide now. And so the transportation of animals that used to occur from Natchez to other areas of the country for adoption is no longer taking place. And in fact, it's becoming more and more of a challenge. So I want to just say this, by all means, I love and support those individuals behind our Humane Society. And we thank them for all of the good work that they are doing. But I also have to say, as someone who signs the checks each billing cycle here in the city, I personally signed that check, and it's taxpayer funds going to the Humane Society. And in return for that, we have to make sure that we have a place to put animals that are currently on the street. It's important.
Mr. Mayor.
And so I look forward to that meeting taking place soon. Yes, Alderman Dillard.
One comment is that, fair enough, we do have a pressing problem, but the way to get ahead of this is our new enforcement, use our police officers to enforce those that are littering these puppies, these puppy farms out here, to be fined and brought to reckoning that they are polluting our public with these animals and they're in danger to the other. The second thing that we have to do is to step up and get ahead of the curve. We're always fighting it from the back end, is to get ahead of it with a spade and neutering program that you are required to have your animal spayed and neutered, or you will be fined.
Yes.
You are perpetuating the problem that we can't fight from the backside.
Very good point.
So
Thank
anyhow,
you.
enough discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor.
Alderman Dillard, I'm about to let you take over the meeting. I'm sorry, in interest of time, I must move on, and I do have one other item I need approval for. This will actually be an expenditure under the new budget, but we want to congratulate Alcorn, and I am about to see President Nave, and I want to tell her that we responded to this. It is a sponsorship letter, and this is to be a sponsor for their 150-year celebration. It will be a gala. The city will have a table, and this will be at 6:00 p.m. on October 1st. And at this time, I am asking for approval for the city to be a gala sponsor. in the amount of $2,500.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Davis and seconded by Alderman Frazier. I heard a tie there, Alderwoman
Alderman
Hall.
Frazier.
Alderman Frazier seconded that motion. We'll move to a vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed,
Aye.
nay. The ayes have it, motion carries. I'd also, Alderwoman Hall, I think you wanted to make a motion authorizing travel
Yes, sir.
for any of our city board members or officials, including department directors who would like to be in attendance. There are only 10 slots at the gala. 2 of those are already taken by me and the First Lady.
And one is by me, I've already accepted.
And so we just had to get that in. So do I have that motion,
Yes, sir.
Alderwoman Hall?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, a motion has been made by Alderwoman Hall and seconded by Alderwoman Irving. Discussion on the motion?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Alderman Dillard.
I got to find that memo about appropriations, and I hope we can get these in the next. This is where we're going to squeeze this one in under the carpet. But after that, the appropriations have to come before the budgeting
Yes.
cycle, be
They
included
do.
in our budget and approved by this board. But this
They
is
do.
such a good one. I'm gonna let. I'm gonna,
I
I'm gonna
know,
go with
we
you.
just got the letter
Absolutely.
at the end of last week.
I'll go along with that.
But I do agree, and Alderman
That's how they
Dillard's
always
right.
come, though.
Call
We
for
now
the-
have a budget that we do follow. Yes, Alderman Frazier.
Yeah, I was just like, I'm not an alumni of Alcorn, but Jackson. But anyway,
I
I
am.
think that this is a step forward for the city of Natchez, showing that we are partnering with Alcorn State University. This is something that is much needed in this community to show that Natchez is in step with Alcorn.
We've been partnering for 2 years.
Yes.
Yeah, but we need to do more.
And speaking of doing more, I'm about to stand President Nave up if I don't get on the road. I will call for the question.
Call.
We'll move to a vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries. I will now hand the gavel over to the Mayor Pro Tem, and I thank everyone for a very, very productive meeting thus far.
I get to keep some car for the weekend, man.
I gotta make it to Jackson somehow. Thank
Just
you all.
leave the credit card.
Thank you. I forget. Brian,
Yes,
is
sir.
this my water?
Yeah. Yes.
We may have swapped them. Hey, find this out. All you need.
All right, Mr. Bear, travel safely and do good work and do good things. You got to do good to be good. All right, Mr. Attorney, and to the board, we're going to proceed with the agenda. We'll go back to the clerk. We'll go back to the top of the agenda for the approval of the minutes.
Hey,
Yep.
actually, Mayor Pro Tem, I'm gonna request that we defer all of these minutes
Fair enough.
until the September 27th meeting.
September 22nd. All right, we talked with, we did our unfinished business, and we're down to Mr. James Johnston.
Afternoon, Mayor and Board.
Afternoon.
I placed a copy of my report at your respective desks earlier today and emailed one to you this morning as well. Downtown Natchez Farmers Market, execution of FY23 contract with Mr. Eddie Burks. Staff is requesting a motion to extend Mr. Burks' contract into FY23 beginning October 1st and ending September 30th, 23. Mr. Burks' contract totaled $18,000.
What's the pleasure of the board?
So moved.
Second.
We got a motion to approve in a second. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously, Madam Clerk. Mr. Johnston?
Interior painting and flooring improvements at Natchez City Hall, to the city's 2020 Community Heritage Preservation Grant Program, funded by Archives and History. Earlier this year, staff received permission from the Board of Aldermen contingent upon the approval from Archives and History to receive bids to repair and paint the damaged, discolored ceilings on the second floor, paint upstairs and downstairs corridors, paint doors and door casings, stairwell and banister, foyer, etc. in addition to replacing the flooring in the first floor corridor and repair subflooring if necessary. Quote bids were received on Wednesday, September the 2nd at 2:00 p.m. and are summarized below. Staff, along with consulting architect Wake Associates, recommends that the low bid of L. Scott Construction totaling $54,369 for Phase 1 painting component and Thorpe Sheet Metal totaling $36,264.10 for Phase 2 flooring component be approved.
What's the pleasure of the board?
So moved. Second.
Second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion is approved. Unanimous, Madam Clerk. Mr. Johnston,
Relocation of Entergy utility pole, addition of guide wire, construction of 2 new tennis courts at Duncan Park, 2021 recreation bond issue. At the August 9th meeting of the Mayor and Board, approval was granted to enter into an agreement with Entergy to provide a new utility pole at the southwest corner of the second access road to relocate wires away from the new courts and to add a new guide wire at the utility pole nearest the ball field. The agreed upon cost total $5,328.86. Staff is requesting a motion to pay the presented invoice for work performed by Entergy.
pleasure of the board.
So moved.
Second.
We had a motion by Alderwoman Hall and a second by Alderman Davis. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes.
I got a question. This was for lighting
It's removing a pole and some guidelines.
for new tennis courts at Duncan Park. Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Mr. Johnston,
2020 Affordable Housing Program, Federal Home Loan Bank of Dallas. During the program cycle, a metal roof was not properly installed, but installation has since been corrected. Prior to the installation being corrected, a heavy rain occurred, causing ceiling and wall damage in 2 rooms. To repair the damaged ceiling and wall, staff is requesting a motion to approve an invoice from Home Bank totaling $800 to make the necessary ceiling and wall repairs, the invoice being paid with deposited SNAP funds held by the city.
So moved.
Second.
Explain that one, Mr. Johnston.
We have a motion on the floor.
hang on, guys. We got Alderman Davis with the motion and Alderwoman Hall with the second.
Yes.
Discussion.
We had an issue
Oh, I
with
didn't vote. I'm sorry. You've got me crossed. So all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Okay, the motion, discussion.
we had an issue with how the roof was installed. It had to be corrected before it was corrected. We had a
In which
really,
building?
we don't give the homeowner name.
Oh,
I
okay.
can speak with you privately,
Okay, okay.
but it's Ward 4.
Oh,
Oh, sorry. Well, that's a large ward.
you said that this person that y'all did the SNAP program and yet we could do it $800 to go back over.
Correct.
Okay.
Make the necessary.
Yeah, rain damage.
Okay,
Correct.
all right.
So the roof was installed.
Incorrectly. And it was not caught that it was done incorrectly. We did not notice it upon our inspection, but the rainfall caused us to notice the incorrect installation.
Okay, so it fell back on the city, not the contractor.
SNAP program.
It's a SNAP.
It's not city money.
No.
It's not,
But-
these aren't
I'm
city-
saying-
these aren't city monies
Okay.
we're using. Yeah.
Call for the question.
Call. Second.
Second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. Mr. Johnston,
2023 Special Needs Assistance Program. Staff is requesting a motion to work with Concordia Bank and Trust and Home Bank to prepare and submit applications for funding consideration in January 2023 when the expected cycle opens. Of note, due to the reduced amount of program funds available the past 3 years, and in a meeting with our partner banks, staff will be discarding any and all homeowner worksheets on file and creating a new participant list.
So moved.
Second.
we have a move and a second. And Irving and Hall.
4 and 5.
Hall.
Yeah, okay. I know you. Discussion. Oh, no, wait, we got to vote first. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. Discussion.
Here, Mr. Mayor.
Yes. Okay. We've taken the motion to proceed with the discussion. Is there any discussion?
No.
We'll proceed to a vote. All in
Call
favor?
the question.
Call the question.
Called.
Second.
Second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. The, have we talked about the Morgantown Road drainage earlier, or is this in different to that?
It's, if you recall from I think the last board meeting, Mr. Dillard, this project is being done in two phases.
Okay.
Phase one involving the earmark, phase two involving the DEQ MCWI monies. Permission was granted to receive engineering proposals for construction engineering and inspection services, and that's what this pertains to right here. May I?
All right, go ahead, Mr. Johnson.
Proposals for construction engineering and inspection services were received this morning at 10 o'clock a.m. The mayor's office is requesting if Alderman Ben Davis, Supervisor Ricky Gray, Supervisor Warren Gage, Road Manager Robbie Dollar, Richard Burks, and myself can serve on the proposal review committee to select the engineering firm and make a recommendation to the full board.
So
I've got a motion by Hall and
Second.
a second by Davis. All right, and we move to discussion.
Okay, I just was gonna ask, could Mr. Justin Dollar be added to that as well, because he's our
Sure.
road person?
All right, yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
And Mr. Dollar. Further discussion? Call.
call. Second.
You got a call and a second on the call. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. Mr. Attorney.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnston. I see on here we have our Recreation Department head, Snower Cole, on the list.
That is
Actually,
not going forward today.
okay. Thank you, Mr. Attorney. We now move into city officials' reports. Alderwoman Hall.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. The mayor already took my first motion about travel was for Alcorn's 150th anniversary celebration. I would like to state that we have been asked several times to finish completing the cost of the pool. That has been done. I'm not sure why people are still asking the city to complete our portion of that. It has been done. We are the applicant and grantee of a land and water conservation fund for needed improvements to the Natchez Aquatic Center. The city constructed new showers and lockers to the existing building. We purchased and installed permanent bleachers, purchased and installed the pool heating system. The city purchased and installed the solar panel cover for the pool. The city purchased and installed the outdoor cubbies, which are also known as lockers. We purchased and installed the automatic chlorinator for the pool. And the city purchased and installed the outdoor lockers. The cost of these improvements was $356,803 with the Land Water Conservation Fund grant reimbursing the city in the amount of $172,584. And Adams County and Natchez each contributed 25% in local matching funds. And the pool will be covered when we have the adequate staff to do it. So, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And my last comment is that on September 23rd, 6:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m., free movie in North Natchez Park, The Sonic, The Hedge. It is for children, all children in this community. And it's put on by the Natchez Parks and Recreation Committee.
Well, that's great. That ought to be a good weekend for that, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Thank you, Mr.
Does
Mayor.
that complete?
That
concludes
concludes
your
my report. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Alderwoman Hall. Alderman Frazier?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Make it short.
Just I'll be real quick and brief. I have a lot of grave concerns. I noticed lately that a lot of, and we appreciate the business a lot. I noticed just a lot of downtown, you have a lot of go-karts and other business popping up. And I was trying to find out I talked to the city attorney, as I noticed that down on Canal Street, now they have these go-karts, these carts. I know it's state law that you can ride these carts in the city of Natchez. So I'm trying to find out, have these people applied for license or what are the procedures?
They,
Because I noticed that they've been renting these cars out, and I see a lot of people driving around, and I see a lot of kids driving these cars too. And all adults, but they're going all up under the hill and their way up. And also, I noticed that they have a new, what do you call it? It's something like a bike. There, people are riding those. I need to find out about those. Have they got a license for them? And one more thing, as you know, Mr. Pullybone had a taxi service, and the taxi business was in his name. And I see a lot of taxis driving around here. Are those people in compliance with the city of Natchez? Have they renewed their license?
Okay, Mr. Mayor, may I?
Yes, Alderwoman. Oh, no, Clerk.
So in regards to the golf carts, the Natchez Golf Cart Rental Company, they did follow the guidelines set forth by the ordinance that the mayor and board approved, or that the board approved. I think it was back in July. They filled out applications for each of their carts. They filled out their affidavits in regards to their compliance with the additional outfitting that had to be done to each cart to make them street legal. They paid their permit fees, and they have received their permits. And so those are.
And the business license fee, all that.
Yes, yeah, all of that has been taken care of. I do know that there was a Tipsy Taxi company that's trying to kind of get all of their stuff straightened out. They've been in contact with myself to find out what they want to do, as well as Ms. Legault to find out through planning as far as what ordinances they would need to follow to move forward. Those are the only, that's the only taxi service or company that I have been made aware of. And as far as bicycles, I don't know of any ordinance that would require.
It's something like a bicycle. It's where about, you can get on about 8-9 people. They had to just.
Oh, they just.
Oh, yes, the pedal, yes, and they went through their proper avenues to get approved.
And so, with the taxi, you said, because like I said, I seen a lot of people riding around in taxi service, but as I stated earlier, from what my knowledge is that Pullybone was the only somebody that had a taxi service around here, and he's deceased. So who's taking up that now?
Now that I can't answer your
Well,
question.
that
I'll have
need-
to look into that and see who's covered as far as taxi service.
Yeah,
at
that
Natchez.
needs to be looked into, because
I
like I
know.
said, they're riding around doing, picking up people, so they should be in regulation.
I know that when I was with the city years ago, we actually had 2 different taxi companies. Now, I don't know who currently has been approved. I have not had any paperwork come across my desk since I returned last November.
Would you mind please checking?
I
on
will
that,
look
please?
into that for you.
And one more thing, thank you, man.
Mhm.
As I stated earlier early in the day, I see Mr. Jackson in here, Ms. Gagnon, I know y'all want that on the list. And I was, like I say, I wish that you would call me and people call me and let me know about their street and what they need done to it, since we had that money already appropriated and the bond issue that we're going to be taking care of. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's the end of my report.
I have a question though, Mr. Mayor, pertaining to.
Yeah, well, I think you're going to be next here. Let me see.
Sarah.
We said Alderwoman Smith has either been, she's not on the line. Okay, so now Alderwoman Irving,
Okay,
your
thank you,
time for
Mr.
your
Mayor.
report. Yes.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I just want to get clarity from the city clerk about the go-karts. What's the route? Is it any area in the city, or is it just for downtown?
No, there was a map that was approved by the board that covered the majority of downtown. It went, if memory serves me correctly, all the way out to like Forks of the Road, back up St. Catherine. I know Monmouth was included. Mr. Attorney, can you help elaborate on the full area?
Because I've seen it down past Popeyes, and that's my reason for asking.
No,
Was that included?
no,
No, that's
I just saw
beyond.
that was just Thursday, Friday.
I will get that map to you.
Okay.
Yeah, that.
I mean, I have
map-
the map. I still have that because I recalled it,
Yeah.
but I just wanted to know how far.
And
it
that
went out.
map was also included in the application. So it was the application, the affidavit that they're street legal. a copy of the ordinance and a copy of the map. And when I spoke with the business owner, when he got the permits, it was my understanding that he would be providing a map to every person who rented one of the carts. Also, to back up just 1 second to Alderman Frazier's question about children driving, all that required was it be a licensed driver. So, you know, you can get a driver's license at the age of 16 in Mississippi.
Right.
So,
Go on.
I just wanted to clear that up. I forgot to address that.
I
So,
would-
I mean, as far as them being out by Popeyes, that is not within the area.
And the other thing I want to ask is, what's the speed of the car?
So in the low speed vehicle ordinance, and kind of what was set by the state is anything, 25 miles an hour or slower.
Can they go
Is
faster
considered-
than that? Because this one seemed to be going, it was
I
coming
mean,
down East
they
Franklin.
signed an
and-
affidavit saying that it
Okay.
doesn't, but I
Okay.
didn't,
All right.
I didn't have the police department clock them.
Okay.
If-
So.
If I
that-
might, just for a moment on that topic, I would like to make a comment because
Okay.
we've referred them, as we're discussing it back and forth, as go-karts. Now, I'm old enough to remember what a go-kart was. It was a very low-profile cart, and I'm thinking these more along the lines as golf carts. So I don't want the public to get the idea that if you did like my cousins did, they put a chainsaw motor on the back end of a cart with four wheels, and nobody could catch them, so you were bound. But these, I believe, and having some of the discussion in it, these are along the lines more along of tourism golf carts. So I don't want some kids in the neighborhood saying, well, the city just said we can all race our our go-karts downtown. That's not the case. I don't want anyone hearing this broadcast to think that these are basically relating to tourists and their electric golf carts, not go-karts. Thank you. Alderwoman Irving, continue.
Yes, sir. I want to inquire, a few months ago, there was a list comprised, the mayor had given us, and it was in reference to properties that were adjudicated. And those properties are not added back. What the proposition that he had fell through. We could not proceed with having constituents or property owners. The process, the procedure we wanted to have done fell through. So I'm asking the city clerk, there's a list. I want to say it's approximately 30 properties. And when I went back to look at the list, those properties I'm asking that they be added back. And I want also make a motion that they be added back to our list because it's some specific areas that we have been cutting for weed and grass and they're no longer being cut. And it's causing on the neighbors that live in close proximity to those properties.
Okay, if you can, do you mind coming by the office and
No, I-
making sure that we get the proper list?
Yes.
Okay.
I have it. I just have it filed and I will bring it, but I was hoping that you would have one as well. Because I want to go in and make a motion, you all. And Mr. Mayor, I want to do that now.
I
don't even know.
I would be adverse to until we can see the list. I
Okay.
think making a blind
Okay.
motion to an unseen list would be something that we would have to come back and undo. So
Okay.
I think
So,
the good procedure is that for you to get that list, get it to the clerk, and include Mr. Dollar on this. I think that would be the most prudent procedure. Ms.
Okay.
Irving?
all right. And I also want to mention that since we're doing our budget now, that we consider having a rainy day fund. That's something that we need to consider having a rainy day fund.
I think that, Alderwoman, I think that's something that we could certainly talk with the clerk about. I don't know that in the past, there are certain funds that have acted in that manner. But I think she shows not a surplus, but a revenues ahead of expenditures in the amount of $800,000. Is that
For the
800?
current fiscal year, just under $800,000 is
What
what
in
we're
the
looking.
proposed?
Now, as far as cash balances, I plugged 800,000, but that was on the very low end, in accordance with the audit report that we just received. So, I mean, there there are monies there. It would just be how this board wanted to pursue and look at the options of what we can do as far as setting up a separate bank account fund kind of thing to transfer some of those monies, if that's something that y'all wish to do at some point.
I think so. We just adopted a budget, so I don't want to amend, I've tried to amend it this quickly, but I certainly take your comments and have taken those thoughts and comments into consideration. And I think that we could, going forward, Madam Clerk, look to a way of budgeting that in there with the full intent of trying to maintain it. We've been doing it kind of in an ad hoc way, I think, but I think we can be more deliberative in how we go forward with that. Does that conclude your report?
Well,
Thank you.
no, sir, it doesn't. I just, one more thing. It does, because the police is gone. I just want to ask if we get an update on that person who's going to be handling adjudicated properties and code enforcement. So just was asking for an update. Could we get an update?
You're right. We'll get that to the chief of police. Alderman Davis?
I only have one thing. That's it. Keep the fire chief and the family in your prayers, and that ends my report.
Very, very thoughtful and very well put. You just hate the idea of a young person and that's a tragic scenario. And it's just very sad all the way around. The attorney, where are we now? We're at the
Your report, if you want to give one.
my report, no report. We're going to go to the city clerk's report, and we're talking about the claims dockets and those sort of things.
So the first thing I've got on my report is request for approval of the 1st September of 2022 claims docket.
What's the pleasure of the board?
So moved.
Second.
I've got a motion and a second. And
Call for the question.
all in favor for the question, yes.
Yeah.
Second.
Discussion and call. for
Okay,
question.
call for the question. We've got a call in a second, and I'm going to call for the vote. Call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay.
Nay.
The ayes have it.
I just want to remind the city clerk not to include me in.
For the fire.
Yes, thank you.
Madam Clerk,
Okay, next item is request for approval of the 1st September 2022 small claims docket.
pleasure of the board.
So moved.
Second.
Yeah.
Got it.
I'm going to ask for a pause in this. I would normally think that I have got to take a vote so that we can proceed with the discussion. We can't discuss it until we have a vote.
Right.
And then after we discuss it, we ask for a vote to either approve or not approve.
Should go. Generally, we just go. Motion second. Discussion.
Okay.
Call for question, but that's fine.
All right, so
However you want to proceed. It can't hurt.
I've got a motion and I've got a second. I'm going to entertain discussion.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor.
Alderwoman Irving.
Okay, I want to ask, claims number 16284. We've done an increase already. We're not waiting until our new budget year, or?
That was to go ahead and complete out this fiscal year. This was done in August, so it's for August and September.
Okay,
Because the small claims are payments that had to be done prior to the regular docket being approved. So this was done last week or the week before.
okay.
So no increase, just 2 months worth of payments.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so what's next for Madam Clerk?
So the next
Try-
item I have,
I have one other thing
We can
too.
take a vote. Might as well let her talk. Go ahead, Alderwoman Irving.
Okay, the limo for the American Symphony, the Christianing. We incurred those fees.
we did, that came out of the promotional monies that are received from the cruise lines. And so that's for special events and different tourism promotional events that we
Okay.
provide.
Okay. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Call for the vote.
Call.
Call.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, unanimous. Next on your list is the higher fire report.
Yes, request for approval. No, I'm sorry. Let's see, we took care of these three things. I'm now out of order. I'm sorry. Request for approval of the following travel.
Okay.
Do we want to do each of these separately or do them all in one? I
Let's
have
see.
3 different travel requests.
All right, well, let's just do them separately.
Okay. The first one would be a retroactive approval for my travel to Jackson Thursday of last week. It was a very last minute trip that was planned to drive up and deliver the audit reports to MDOT and also meet with Mr. Prosper at Watkins and Eager.
What's the pleasure of the board?
So move. Second.
We got I got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion carries unanimous. Madam Clerk, next.
Next item I have is request for approval of travel for myself to Jackson this evening for meetings in the morning with Peyton Prosper, Lindsay Ray, Jamie Holloway, Mississippi Development Bank for the finalization of the Convention Center Complex Bond.
What's the pleasure of the board?
Second.
Got a motion, I got a second. Any discussion? All those in favor of the vote say aye.
Aye.
All those in vote say nay. Ayes have it, unanimous. Madam Clerk.
Last travel item is request for approval of travel for myself, for Miss Denise Bell, and for Miss Rebecca Turner to our certified municipal clerks classes. This will be in Ridgeland, November 1st through 4th.
So move.
Second.
Got a motion, got a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, unanimous, Madam Clerk.
Okay. Next, I have got 2 interfund loans that I'll be requesting retroactive approval on. The first one being $39,856.80 from the Senior Citizens Center to Payroll Clearing to cover the transit portion of the biweekly payroll, which will be repaid once the MDOT funds have been received for transit.
So move.
Got a
Second.
motion, got a second. Discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. Madam Clerk, next.
Next interfund loan was in the amount of $23,500 from the general fund to the 643 Holiday Inn TIF fund. This was for a portion of the annual TIF payment. And before this was done, I did contact the county tax collector to make sure that they had received this payment from Holiday Inn. They did, but not in time to settle it to us prior to the bond payment being due. So as soon as we do receive that settlement from the county, this will be reimbursed to the general fund.
Question for for the clerk. Well, let me get my motion. I have a question. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
The motion is second. Madam Clerk, this bond, this TIF payment, when will it reach its maturity? Isn't it soon?
The upcoming fiscal year, if,
Do you have a couple fiscal year on that? Okay. Any further discussion? Call for yes, all in favor of the vote say aye.
Aye.
All those against say nay. The ayes have it. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Any further report?
Next item is request for retroactive approval of a transfer in the amount of $500,000 from the general fund to the 334 Bridge Lighting Project Fund. These were the state funds that we received from the Mississippi Department of Finance to help fund the bridge lighting project. It was a requirement by the Mississippi Department of Finance that these be maintained in a separate fund and bank account. However, when we received them through pay mode, we received them into the general fund and they had to be moved to the proper place.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, are we still receiving this through the 108 fund, through those wire transfers?
No, those are, we do receive some through the 108 and through the 135, and I will have to work with Mr. Johnston and seeing how we can go about kind of streamlining federal monies coming into one, state monies coming into the other. But these were actually received through pay mode from the state, and they were deposited directly into the general fund. And that's how it's set up for the state, because that's where we receive our sales tax, et cetera. So once it was received there, we had to move it to the proper account.
Going forward in this new proposed budget for this upcoming fiscal year, has this little wrinkle been ironed out?
No, not 100%, but all of it is very well documented when transfers are made and monies are received.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say
Call the
aye.
question.
Call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it.
Okay. And my last item is a request for approval of the August 2022 hire and fire report.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion, got a second discussion?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Alderwoman Urban,
Okay, so I'm just asking for clarity, in Department 160. So that was, hire and, a termination the same day, or?
So they were put in as a new hire, but did not pass testing and require qualifications to remain.
Okay, thank you.
good catch. Alderman
Okay.
Frazier,
Yes, that's on the fire department, the termination part.
For Department 160.
What,
He was shown on the hire report as well as the fire report, and it happened on the same day. Because we have to put them into the system so that we can kind of get them set up for testing and whatnot. So if they don't clear that process, then they're not eligible to maintain employment through that.
okay, I'm sorry. So he took the test.
We had to, yes, show him as an employee so that we could go put him through the testing. When that was not completed, then he had to be removed.
Okay, okay. Because I wonder why it didn't come before the board. Okay, thank you.
all right. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, Madam Clerk.
That is the end of my report.
Madam Clerk, I'd like to take this opportunity on this. It's that I would like, at least for the mayor pro tem, I've been asking for I call it an employee roster or a list of employees. Can you make that information available and maybe put it in?
Yes,
my
I'll
box
get that
when you have
into
it?
your box.
I think it would be available to any of the aldermen that would be interested in that information.
Yep.
And
And
one other question I have, Madam Clerk, is that I looked, and I know in our budgeting process for our fire protection fees that we project from the county, has the county in fact received the upcoming year service provider fee rates?
Mr. Attorney, can you elaborate on that?
I missed it.
The fire protection increased rates.
Has the county been presented with the new rates of this county?
They have been presented with the new rates. And Megan has written a letter, our clerk has written a letter, and we discussed it in a meeting with the county 2 days ago.
I just want to keep, let me see, I've written all over my list. So do we have anything left here that we need to discuss, Mr. Attorney?
what is the mayor?
Hang on, let me see what the
I don't
attorney
think
is.
there's anything left on the agenda, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, so we have the attorneys and we don't have any executive session or personnel. And the mayor's taking care of his issues, and those two questions are mine. Alderwoman Irving,
I thought, yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. I thought that the police had, representative had left the meeting, but they had not. So I just want to ask, could you give an update on the code enforcement officer? Do you know of any information, an update?
No, I do not have any information.
Okay.
I think that was clear enough. She didn't have to get up for there. Is there any other matters to come before this board at this time? If not,
Second recreation.
oh, there's the
Mr.
recreation.
Mayor,
Hold on.
Our
Hold on, I got them coming too
cadets are
fast.
at the academy and they will be graduating on September 23rd, and we would like to invite the board to attend if at all possible. Well, not all of you. because that's-
27th.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think that's the board meeting. But any of you who would like to attend, are very welcome.
On Friday.
All right, let the record show that we've received, pardon me?
Oh, no, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say that we received an invite for the police cadets in Jackson. I'd also like the Recreation Department head, Mr. Sonora Cole. I had you earlier on the agenda, but at least you made it. Better late than not. Can you?
That contract is not ready to go today.
It's not?
No.
Okay.
Okay.
Ma'am?
That's what I thought you said.
Yeah.
Miss Cole, before you leave, can I speak to you
Yes.
after the meeting? Mr. Davis, is there any other matters to come before this board? If not, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Got a second? Any opposed? This meeting is adjourned.
They did a fabulous job.